This is Mark Hoversten. Can you hear me? Welcome everyone to Celebrating the Design Life, Stories of Impact at the College of Design at NC State University. My name is Mark Hoversten, and it is my privilege to serve as Dean of the College of Design. While we are working behind the scenes to get ready for fall semester, this event is a reflection of the success of our students and faculty this past spring. We're planning another broadcast, probably in August, to bring you up to date on our reactivation plans for the fall semester. At that time, we'll have a better understanding of the coronavirus progression, corresponding course formats, and state allocations for our budget. Today, our students will share their perspectives in a pre-recorded video. Then we'll recognize the winner of the 23rd Annual Designlife Award. Finally, our panel of students and faculty will answer questions about how their semester went. You'll have the opportunity to share any questions you may have in the comments section of the event, and our communications team will pass those questions along. Before we begin this celebratory event, I'd like to take a moment of silence in response to the tragic events unfolding across our country in light of the unjust treatment of George Floyd and too many others. All Black lives matter. Let us take a moment to respect those who battle inequality and systematic oppression in our country, and to grieve with those who are experiencing overwhelming sadness. Thank you. I'd like to echo the Chancellor's words that we, as members of this intellectual community, continue to fight for positive change powerfully, thoughtfully, and peacefully. For those of you who are seeking to inform yourselves and take positive action, I encourage you to visit the Office of Institutional Equity and Diversity's website for a list of resources available within our NC State community. I know I'm taking time to further educate myself on the issues of systemic racism and personal stories of people of color. It's difficult and important work. I encourage you to share in that. And now I'd like to turn to our reason for gathering today. Today we are celebrating the design life. We'll be hearing from faculty, students, and administrators in the college about their experiences this past semester. This has been an unusual year at the College of Design, to say the least. Yet our mission remains the same. We transform the world through design, education, and scholarship. And our vision remains just as ambitious as ever. We will be the leading public, multidisciplinary design school. We're a relatively small college, yet I like to say we punch well above our weight class. Our students and faculty regularly win national awards. Our research impacts everything from user experiences on computer screens to virtual reality, from animation and game design to preservation of coastal estuaries, from designing and daylighting skyscrapers to designing parks and open space. Our graduates lead some of the top design companies in the nation. This year, we were grateful to receive the college's first endowed faculty position through the generous support of Jim and Ann Goodnight. I'm happy to announce that we have plans to expand our physical footprint into Daniel Hall in the fall of 2021. This space will be a showcase for the industrial design department and will feature much needed studios, offices, classrooms, and display space for the entire department. As designers, we pride ourselves on our ability to be makers. Yet this spring, we were faced with a challenge that engaged the design thinking mindset for which we are known. And I'm proud to say that our faculty and students rose to the occasion. As we celebrated with our final Zoom calls for the graduating class almost a month ago, I was heartened to see the unique progress our students were able to make. So now I'd like to take a few minutes while our students share their stories in their own words.
This semester was my first time designing a site on my own, and I was really enjoying the studio a lot and giving it my all, and the pandemic definitely changed a lot of things. I'm just was finishing up my first year of the MLA program. We were actually looking at a existing 40-acre site in North Raleigh that is set to be a mixed-use development. Our project looked at proposing an alternative site design that included an area of conservation.
I guess for this project this semester, our entire studio, the goal was to kind of work with within the terms of like how design can impact community. I wanted to work more with the Women's Center because I really align with kind of their message and mission with helping young girls and young women.
Our project hit kind of a roadblock with this coronavirus coming, and so we kind of took a shift and had to focus on how we can spread this initiative and reach as many girls as possible through, a digital, not physical space.
Initially, Cherish Me was a conference that they held each year. And kind of with that, we thought that it should be expanded more to something that is almost like a branch or an initiative of DMHWC. It became so much more than what they imagined. They thought they were just going to get like a t-shirt design and the logo, but they left with something so much more that they can build on top of and really push their initiative forward.
We visited and studied the constantly shifting barrier island of Nags Head in North Carolina along the Outer Banks. I chose to design a coastal discovery museum right along the Roanoke Sound. I wanted to help educate the visitors and locals about the delicate but beautiful coastal ecosystem at Nags Head. I looked at local marine life for inspiration for how to adapt in the flood-prone and hurricane-prone landscape. We were also asked to have a little 5-minute kind of overview presentation on the day of review. And lastly, we were, as part of the studio, we produced a booklet at the end of the semester. So we were each kind of responsible for formatting our end projects into something that's going to be printed at the end of the semester, which is also exciting.
I really enjoy working on household appliances. I think they're really fascinating. It's something you come into contact with every day. And it's a great space to make changes to, changes that would make a big difference to the way people live their lives. So I kind of took a new take on it, seeing that I think there's an opportunity for bridge design to be made and kind of in an even more sustainable way, not just the materials that are used or how it's manufactured, but actually also down to helping people change their behaviors or making it easier for people to use the fridge in a way where they're less likely to let food get lost and then it ends up getting wasted.
So this semester I completed my senior capstone paper. It encompasses my love for music and also for fashion. So I want to blend those two together when really creating this project. Basically, I really wanted to dissect the interconnection between music and fashion, more specifically within the fashion retail sphere, and how music can be used to persuade consumers to buy within fashion retail environments, and also the psychological influence of music in fashion and outside of fashion as well. Just as a whole, the entire NC community has been very helpful in general in pushing the class of 2020 to strive to be the best, and it's just been really great to see that. And it really is a testament to the power of, I would say, community, camaraderie, and compassion.
Kind of that engagement of students and faculty that you get by just being in the studio environment, did come to miss that.
I've definitely had really stressful times, late nights, but I mean, looking back on it now, it's all been worth it.
think I learned a lot of things in a different way that I wasn't expecting.
I think the empathy that we felt for each other and just that kind of gung-ho, gonna get this done feeling just kind of pushed us all through it. And I think it turned out well in the end.
What a remarkable response to this year's challenges. To me, it was also remarkable that the students who were interviewed for this project had very little negative feedback about their experiences. Was it challenging? Sure. Were they forced to adapt? Of course. But they were all overwhelmingly positive and complimentary about the way their professors were able to translate projects into a new format in as little as 2 weeks. While the COVID-19 pandemic forced our academic operations online, it also hindered our ability to connect and engage in person. Our Art to Wear fashion show, one of the highlights of our year, was unable to happen. The students, however, have not stopped working on their collections. They've built up the Art to Wear website to showcase virtual collections from each designer. We are linking the Art to Wear website in the comments section below of the video, so take a look at it as we speak. I encourage each of you to visit that site and see the amazing work of these talented students. Another event that brings our community together in fellowship each year is our Designlife Gala. Unfortunately, it too was canceled. The highlight of that event is presenting the college's Designlife Award. The Designlife Award aims to recognize people who shape our communities and have a positive impact on design. This year's recipient of the Designlife Award is Bill Bell, former mayor of Durham. Bill was a major figure in the revitalization of downtown Durham, working on the city's downtown master plan and as a driver of development in major projects, including the Durham Performing Arts Center, the American Tobacco Campus, and the Durham Bulls Stadium. Until we have the opportunity next year to officially present Bill with his award in person, I hope you'll enjoy this brief video highlighting some of the tremendous contributions he has made to the city of Durham.
Each year, the College of Design celebrates someone who has made a significant contribution to design. The College of Design is honored to announce this year's Designlife Award recipient, former Mayor of Durham, Bill Bell. His peers have described him as quiet, compassionate, and a man of his word. There is no doubt that Durham's economic and cultural transformation would not be the same without Mayor Bell's collaborative work ethic and appreciation for design.
When I came to Durham in 1968 to work for IBM, politics was the furthest thing from my mind. I figured I'd be here 3 or 4 years with IBM and then move on, because that was the progress of developing it in IBM, so I didn't have any intentions of doing that. Whatever we've been able to accomplish in Durham has really been through a team effort, partnership effort, public-private partnerships. But obviously, probably the area that people might focus on most is the revitalization of downtown Durham. Through this partnership, we've been able to create the downtown that you see now. I love Durham because of its people, its diversity, its location. I just enjoy Durham.
Bill, I know you're watching, so thank you for your work in Durham, and I look forward to celebrating with you in person in 2021. Lastly, before we transition to our panel discussion, I'd like to recognize one final group that helps the college achieve its mission, and this is the Leaders Council. The Leaders Council is our volunteer board of dedicated alumni and friends, and it's my privilege to thank George Stanziel for his work as president of the Leaders Council for the past 2 years. He will be stepping down as past president. And George, we thank you, and we know that you will be past president and still be active. You're not getting out of this. And he'll be passing the torch to Catherine Peel. Catherine is an architect who serves as Chief Practice Officer for LS3P, a Southeast-based architecture, planning, and interior design firm. We look forward to Catherine's leadership on the Leaders Council. Finally, I'd like to introduce our moderator for today's panel discussion, Meg Culkins. Meg serves as the department head of landscape architecture and has been instrumental in bringing talented landscape architects, both as students and guest lecturers. Welcome, Meg. I'm going to give the floor to you.
Thank you, Mark. I am delighted to introduce our panelists today. You're already familiar with Dean Hoversten, but I would like to ask our remaining panelists to wave as they're introduced. Sarah Queen is an associate professor of architecture and director of the first year experience program. Derek Ham is currently an associate professor of graphic design, but will assume the position of department head for art and design in July. Karen Kirsten is a master's student in industrial design. And finally, Noah Baldwin is a recent design studies graduate. Thank you so much, panelists, for being here today. I'll ask our panelists questions, and for those of you watching on Facebook, please feel free to post questions in the comments section of the video. Our team will share those questions with me to be answered by the panel at the end. So let's get started. First question, this is for Karen and Sarah. What was one challenge you faced by transitioning either to online learning or working remotely?
Hi, can I speak? I'll go ahead. I think the biggest challenge I faced was getting user feedback with my prototypes. I created a full-scale model of a bridge, and it was important that I would get feedback on the interactions with that. But I just did what industry professionals are doing. I did what all of the professors at NC State are doing. I just converted it to an online format and used Zoom conference calling, which worked really well in the end. I was actually surprised at how well it worked. So it was good.
In our first year studio, we typically have our freshmen, when they're coming back in the architecture section, doing very hands-on learning and making, where they're learning how to solder, they're learning how to make wood joints, they're making unique jigs for their projects. And we couldn't do that when we were all at home with very different circumstances. So we all left for spring break thinking we were coming back. We didn't take anything with us. And then over spring break, we realized we weren't coming back, and we had to really think about what the curriculum should be. How do we reinforce what the students had in the first part of the semester? How do we do something where we can be explicit about the steps needed for these new young designers to succeed successfully? And we came up with a whole new curriculum for the last 6 weeks of the class that was really successful. And so it was both a challenge, and I think we came out on the other side with a new project that hopefully will stick with us, that we can continue to evolve.
Great, thank you. Another question, and this is for Mark and Sarah. How does this pandemic feel similar to other crises the college has dealt with in the past? And are there any lessons we can take from past events to apply to our present?
From a dean's perspective, there's more uncertainty around this crisis than any I've experienced in the past. First, we don't know the trajectory of this disease, when and how we can return to face-to-face interactions, whether the precautions we're implementing are either sufficient or overkill. There's just a lot of unknowns around the disease. But secondly, we don't know the impacts on the state appropriations or on philanthropy or on grant funding. Nor do we know when those impacts will occur. We would anticipate that state budgets are going to be hurt, and therefore our state appropriations may be lower, but we don't know when that would be implemented, if it's going to be implemented. Finally, while some of our communication has improved, there is added uncertainty in the way we communicate. Some of the subtlety, I guess, you'd say, of the communication has been lost. That said, there is a positive lesson, and it feels different, for instance, than the Great Recession of 2008 to 2010. The esprit de corps is actually better now than it was 2.5 months ago. And in 2008 to 2010, that wasn't the case. We are pulling together as a community as I've never seen us do. And I thank everybody for that, by the way.
Sarah, do you need a refresher on the question?
I got it. I remembered it.
All right.
In my 15 years as part of the community at the College of Design, I haven't experienced anything like this either. So in terms of the past informing where we are in a one-to-one way, it's new and it's unique, it's unprecedented. But I am reminded just sort of the resilience of our community and the strength of our community that we've seen the whole time I've been a part of it, since the late 90s, which obviously stretched way before that. And the resiliency of our students and the sort of excitement around our students to learn and to take what they're learning and to think about how the world can be different in the future. And so I think that one thing, though, that I have learned from this is how much we value our culture in the College of Design, our studio culture, our exchanges, and how we make platforms that allow them to continue. Also, how the studio environment is a leveling playing field for so many students. It's a resource that we all have access to once we're students here. We have 24/7 access to it. We have the shop, we have the IT lab, all of these amazing resources, and how different our students' home lives are. I've had students in the Astoria, in the densest part of sort of coronavirus, in a very packed apartment, versus students with shops and materials. And so the range of our students is also interesting and was really made evident.
Great, thank you both. So I want to build on your reference to the importance of our culture. And this is open to everyone. What is one way that you have tried to hang on to and preserve the culture that we value during the pandemic? Culture of the college that we value.
I could jump on really quickly with a small thing. With our reviews, one great thing that's happened through this is we've been able to have so many diverse voices in our reviews that we would not have necessarily had when we were face to face. And so the exchange with professionals, the exchange with other academics across the country on our reviews and our final critiques has been really great. So that's one thing that I think is our culture's benefited from.
Others?
I think one of the things that we like to do is pride ourselves in this dialogue, rich dialogue about work, rich dialogues about projects. And one of the things that we've had to do is open up our doors from this kind of real-time dialogue to asynchronous dialogues to just exploring all the different ways that we use most often in our downtime, and looking at to say, well, we can keep a rich conversation about design and use some of the tools that we've used in other disciplines and other parts of our life, now bringing them into studios. So explorations and using things like Slack and Instagram and various social media outlets to kind of bring those tools for dialogue now into the classroom. And it's interesting to see how that took place.
I think the leadership team learned that we can do a lot more with a lot shorter meetings. And for someone who spends his life in meetings but doesn't necessarily like meetings, that was really a positive thing. What I have discovered is I do a lot more meetings in a day than I ever did before, but there always is a clear outline. Clearly, we understand what we want to accomplish, and we get it done much faster than we ever did before. And I hope that we can maintain that in the future. In that becomes another part of our, the problem solving approach that we have as designers. It's part of the community that we have. It's just another tool. It's another arrow in our quiver as designers.
Great. So this next question is for Derek and Noah. What is a positive side effect of the transition to online learning? And what have you learned about our students and professors?
I guess I can speak on this. I feel that online learning has really pushed us to become more active listeners, especially. I think that listening will be a significant impetus for the success and adaptivity of our community during this shifting academic and social climate as well. I really enjoyed seeing how accommodating and understanding my professors were and my friends were in response to the needs, concerns of the students and faculty as well. And I really felt that was refreshing as well to see that professors were also taking on the role of a sounding board during this time. And that really aids in the, not only the educational, but the developmental process that colleges want to foster and should foster moving forward.
Great.
One of the things that I like to do, and I know many other faculty members do in their studio environments, is kind of create an environment that has psychological safety. This notion that you can be yourself, you can not be afraid to sound dumb or not be so self-conscious about your image. And oftentimes it takes time to build a relationship with students to make that happen. It takes time for students to build relationships with themselves to happen. When you're talking about freshmen, it's not automatic. So I remember in my case, I was teaching 37 freshmen in the studio, and there's still a lot of hesitation for students to ask a question or out themselves for not understanding something. As soon as we moved to the platform of Zoom, having spaces where they could chat and send a secret message or an anonymous message of, I didn't understand that, or could you please go over that thing you talked about? I said, wow, that is a positive thing. And we got to find a way to, even when we're in face-to-face context, give those students those outlets to communicate and feel safe, even before they're able to, hopefully by the time they've gone through their sophomore, junior, senior year, they can just ask any question, not fear of sounding dumb or anything. But there is something to be said about, in the real-time conversations with big groups, giving someone a democratic platform to speak, to out themselves, and to not have any fear. And that tool was just an amazing discovery, I know, for me, and I've talked to others the same as well, to give those students a voice and a safety to speak.
Yeah. So I'm curious, to Derek and Sarah, do you feel like this, the tools that you've been using to teach online, you'll continue their use in the fall when we're face-to-face?
You know, I've been giving this a great deal, and I really think there has to be a way to bring mobile technology in the classroom in a blended way. I think there is, whether it's taking polls from students right there on a device, or encouraging and chats, there's just something about that type of communication that should be not supplemental to our still face-to-face conversations, but something that's additive. And I don't have all the answers for that there, but I definitely think it's worth exploring.
Another tool that we used in the first year studios in my section was we had Google Slides as a process book, so that, because I couldn't see their desk, I couldn't see their process as a physical mess in front of me the way that I would in a typical desk crit. We had a digital sketchbook of sorts that they put pictures in, that they put text in. And that allowed us to sort of check in sometimes when we were meeting and talking on Zoom, but sometimes just after hours for me to get a peek at how they were thinking, how they were working, and give them feedback on that. It also gave them a platform to put their work out in front of them, sort of on a clean white page, and incrementally reflect on it. So often we give the space for reflection to be at final review. And this 2 or 3 or 4 times a week when they were updating this, I think really helped them synthesize some of their objectives in their projects earlier rather than in a reactionary way. So I hope we can continue that again in the future.
That's great. All right, thank you. This question is for Mark and myself. How can alumni and friends help the college and its students during this challenging time?
Meg, do you want me to go first or do you want to go first?
You can go first.
Okay. So you know you can't ask a dean that question without me talking about philanthropy. Supporting the way alumni and friends can help the college. There are many ways, but I'm going to mention supporting the college via the Designlife Fund, which is our excellence fund, by the way, and it provides unrestricted funds, typically for student support that is needed more than ever right now. It benefits the students through any number of different ways, including student projects, student organizations, improvements to our studios, and more. So I think that's one of the ways we can help out right now.
Great, thank you. You know, I think another way that alumni and friends can help the college and its students during this time is by mentoring them and by providing them internships and job opportunities. You know, one of the things that I have always found so impressive about our college is its relationship with both the local and the national practice community. And, you know, our students are struggling right now. Internships have largely disappeared. I'm happy to say that not all jobs have disappeared. I think in the case of jobs after graduation, firms are still hiring. But we really appreciate the strong relationships of our departments, or that our departments have with our alumni and friends in the practice community. And we'd like to keep those relationships strong during this time as well. I wanted to say that we do have a few more minutes. Nobody has asked questions on Facebook yet, but if you do have questions, feel free to type them in and we will see them and ask them. So while we're waiting just a sec for that, I will just ask our panelists if you have any other thoughts about teaching and learning online. I'd love to hear a little bit more about your experiences from our 2 students, from Noah and Karen.
Okay, I'll go ahead and jump in here. Well, actually, I wanted to go back to your other question before. You were asking about how we were, how are we working together and keeping the kind of culture alive. And I was thinking about that, and it was one thing I did notice that was really nice is all of my classmates are on a WhatsApp group, and we really started to use that to full effect. And so we were all keeping each other updated on what was going on. If we had questions that normally we would ask in person, just in class, it was a good outlet for us to do that. And then some of us were having trouble prototyping and figuring out how to do research as well, given the circumstances. So everyone was kind of, you know, really jumping in and trying to help out each other so that we could complete our project successfully. So it was really nice to be a part of that.
That's wonderful. Noah, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, on a similar vein, I guess my peers and I, we also experienced a similar thing. We would we'd like to share our screens and share different ideas about how to, I guess, more effectively navigate this pandemic and really make it, I guess, not as heavy. We really like to add a sense of levity and positivity during this time. So we would, in between, I guess, studying, we would watch Netflix and just, you know, eat food and just have a really just fun, enjoyable time. Yeah. Nothing too serious. Yeah.
Great. Good. Yeah, I agree. I think we've all found ways to keep that culture going. And I know I'm looking forward to doing it face to face in the fall, but if we have to fall back on online learning, we know we can do it. All right, so we do actually have a question from Susan Hatchell. Hi, Susan. The question is, what will be changing in the fall due to COVID-19? Do we have enough space to be properly distanced?
So I know that a couple of faculty members have some opinions about that.
We'll have to be creative and take this as a design challenge. We all can't be in the same space at the same time like we used to be. Our studios that have Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 1:30 to 5:30, with us all in Liaison Hall or all in Camp Hefner Hall or Brooks Hall, in the numbers and the density that we were, that's not safe right now. So we're going to have to be creative. So towards that end, I would also like to hear from Karen and Noah about what part of the face-to-face, because we're going to have some face-to-face and some online inherent in the fall. What is important about being face-to-face in our interactions? And is it with the faculty members? Is it more with your peers? We've been really positive about all the positive outcomes, but we're not going to do everything. And I'm just curious to hear from the students what's essential for them.
Well, for me at least, when it comes to learning, I really enjoy having that emotional connection, and that really, I feel, drives home different ideas, different topics. When you have that human-to-human, face-to-face interaction, it really helps to internalize the information and the knowledge that is being shared and poured out from the professor when you have that kind of face-to-face connection. So really just emotional and interpersonal interaction is really important, I think.
Great. Thanks, Noah. Karin, did you want to?
Sorry, I'm here. Just trying to unmute myself. Got there in the end. Well, I think so for my class, for industrial designers, and I think that's probably the same for many design students, the being able to create and having a space to create is really important. And I know it's been a challenge for a lot of my peers, being able to prototype effectively. So I think that would be something that I think needs to really be thought about. And if it's something where there is a problem of social distancing, to come up with ways of ensuring that students have alternative means of prototyping. And that would just need to be strategized, I think. But the Zoom web conferencing has worked well in terms of being able to share presentations and sketching and all kinds of other things, CAD modeling. So that has worked well. But I think just having that space to prototype and a way to get user feedback will be really critical.
Great, thank you. We are working on it. I thank you so much to our panelists, and thank you to all of our alumni and friends for coming today. I'm going to turn it back over to Mark.
Thanks, Meg, and thanks for leading that panel discussion. I also want to thank all the panelists for agreeing to participate in this experimental event. So far, so good, I guess. I hope the answers you shared were inspiring to those who were watching at home and provide more insight into the college. We are indeed working regularly on our fall semester. The department heads meet twice a week to determine space planning, and we meet with our facilities people and our IT people for PPE, masks, plexiglass, etc. So there are a lot of plans. At this time, we plan to be face-to-face, and that means that some courses will be face-to-face. It means some courses will be hybrid and some courses will be online. And that is largely to accommodate the larger amount of space that we need. Thank you also to the students who participated today. We very much appreciate you taking time, and to the communications staff who worked behind the scenes to make this possible. I'd also like to take this opportunity to again thank everyone who tuned in to watch from home. We sincerely hope that you and your loved ones are doing well, and our hearts go out to all of you during these unprecedented times. As was discussed by many of the panelists and our students, our design community is a close-knit one, and I encourage each of you to rely upon each other and support each other through these times. If you are in a place to support others, I would sincerely ask you once again to consider donating to the Designlife Fund. This will be especially important as we move into the uncertain days ahead. We will post a giving link in the comments, and our development staff remains available to discuss ways you can help the college through philanthropy. As I mentioned at the beginning of this event, we are working tirelessly to plan for the upcoming fall semester. While things could change at any moment, we are currently planning to begin classes on October 10th, and we'll hold a shortened semester. Students will not participate in a fall break, but instead will end the semester before Thanksgiving holiday. Additionally, we are planning for reduced capacities in our lecture and studio spaces and with our staff to practice safe social distancing. I will continue to keep you informed as we learn more about how to conduct business with this new normal. We're grateful for you and to you for spending time with us today and staying connected to the College of Design. Thank you again, and here's to great design. Goodbye.